From the new magical veil, forgotten and lost to time, to the stormy skies of a new mysterious dimension, to reviving the ancient legends of the once lost snow elves, to revealing ancient prophecies of the fabled Elder Scrolls, Dawnguard has one of the most interesting stories, characters and lore in the entire game, and it's why it's took me this long to properly delve into transforming this DLC into the most engaging piece of modded content. From transforming well-known locations into wonderlands fitting to their themes, to overhauling the looks of almost every character in the DLC, and redesigning many of the story's side quests into interesting and immersive challenges. This video aims to be your one-stop shop to everything Dawnguard modding, split into 3 main categories to cover each area of the content pack. From the bustling new Southern Order forming in the Rift, tasked with defending Skyrim against the rising bloodthirsty vampire menace, to the ancient lost enclave of bloodsuckers in the north, growing ever hungry to carry out their timeless tyranny of the sun, to everything in the middle, the quests both sides partake upon, the characters they meet, and the stories they tell. I've tried to cover every aspect of this DLC within this video, leaving no stones unturned, and only showing you the very best that the Skyrim modding community has to offer, and bringing you one of my longest, most in-detail overhauls to date. So sit back, relax and prepare yourself for the ultimate Dawnguard modded experience, covering everything from armour and weapons to spells and creatures that you will find as you progress across your vampiric journey. With this overhaul I wanted to keep the main theme of the DLC, but elevate it to the next level, enhancing every area I could think of, and making you fall back in love with, in my opinion, the best questline Skyrim has to offer. So let's not delay any further, welcome to Heavy Burn's ultimate Dawnguard overhaul. Now the first thing we're going to do is transform Fort Dawnguard, and we're going to start way at the beginning with the mod Immersive Dawnguard Dayspring Canyon, which moves the small cave passage on the border of the rift to a new opened up valley further down the path. Inside, we're going to be using Immersive Fort Dawnguard. In the canyon, you'll find a plethora of interesting sights, from old ruins littering the pathside, to a small broken down fish and farming huts which you will later be able to restore. Further on, the entrance has been enhanced with new defensive gates and walls leading up to the fort. And inside, there has been a plethora of changes to both the layout and the decorations placed within its halls. But that's only the start, because as you progress through the Dawnguard questline, each of these areas will start to enhance, some completely changing from what they were originally, fit to house a true vampire slaying faction. From greenhouses on the roof being restored to house both food and alchemical ingredients, to the previously mentioned ruined houses now being rebuilt to house both farmers and fishermen, which will populate the once lonesome valley, to a new temple room built to worship Stendar from within the main hall, or Dexian's new alchemical tower overlooking the valley below, or the hidden pathway that leads up to the watchtower at the peak of the cliffside. There are so many new amazing areas and additions to this once bland fort that you'd believe that this was an entire DLC on its own. And by throwing on CC's Fort Dawnguard Reborn textures on top of that, we have a truly transformed and enhanced vampire slaying home base. These mods coupled together are so far the best improvements to this pivotal location that have ever been released on the Nexus. And with that we have our first Dawnguard section completely overhauled. Next, sticking to the Dawnguard side of things, we're going to take a look at some enhancements to existing content added within this DLC. The first of these is the well-known mod named Frankly HD Dawnguard Armour and Weapons, which simply retextures all the existing Dawnguard Militia armoury. And it's safe to see why this is a must-have for anyone who chooses a Dawnguard side, or just wants them to have a more prominent role when encountering them in their game. And this mod goes hand in hand with the Dawnguard Arsenal mod, which aims to introduce a variety of Dawnguard weapons and spells that the base DLC left out. This means introducing a Dawnguard dagger, a one-handed sword, a great sword, a battle axe, and finally a battle hammer. But that's not the only thing this mod adds. Alongside the plethora of new weaponry which is distributed among the Dawnguard soldiers, it also includes new seamless sun spells. Sunray shoots a novice level concentrated beam of sunlight at your opponents. Meridian Rune creates a proximity sunlight explosive that burns the undead upon triggering. Holy Ground, which grants the power to mark the floor with a burning blessing which damages any undead that walk upon it. And finally, the master level spell, Gaze of Arche, which channels the might of the god of birth and death to unleash a torrent of sun damage. Each one of these weapons and spells can be found or bought around the fortress and just adds that depth we expect to see while fighting for the Guardians of Stendarr. And just to top it off, I'm also using another mod named Dawnguard Sentries, which just adds more Dawnguard soldiers patrolling around each of the cities in the game, and also adds some additional vampire guards protecting the outside of Castle Volkihar. Now, the bulk of the mods in this video will come under the quest section, which aims to overhaul most of the pivotal aspects of the DLC. But we're first going to look at some Volkihar specific mods, and I want to point out that these are mods for the Dawnguard DLC specific editions, not vampires as a whole. First, we're going to take a look at the type of creatures you'll be encountering on both sides of the quest, but more prominently if siding with Clan Volkihar, and that starts at the bottom of the food chain by making the quite immersive tweak to the existing vampires you'll face within Dawnguard's dungeons. Vampires Fight with Claws is a mod which simply implements exactly what it says in the title. When a vampire is disarmed, they will utilise their razor-sharp claws to slice their target, which is honestly just a nice touch and a change of pace in encountering especially the more feral vampires in the abandoned sections of Castle Volkihar. Next, we have the mod named Vampire Beasts, which is a favourite on this channel for sure. The first of these beasts is the Fleder, a wide-jawed, werebat type monster who often uses its sonar to disarm its prey before demolishing them. The second is the feral Proto-Fleder, found only alongside the forsaken vampiric Falmers in the Forgotten Valley. Next is the Katakan, the only monster in this mod which is not considered a lesser vampire, often being extremely cunning and sentient higher variants who you'll rarely encounter, but when you do, you will not likely forget. And if you thought that was a tough fight, then watch out for the even more rare Ancient Elder Katakan, which are bigger and more powerful from their younger siblings, and have mastered all possibilities and abilities that being a vampire can offer in battle. And finally comes the Ekamara and the Garcane, the dregs of those higher vampires that have let their beast impulses overcome them over time, resulting in them becoming feral, animalistic creatures who act on nothing but instinct, but still offer a horrifying challenge when encountered across the Volkihar quest. And just to add some easier vampiric enemies alongside the new beast additions, we're also using the Enemy Bats mod, which just adds a new, smaller enemy type across caves, forts and Nordic ruins, which will really add to the range of vampiric creatures you'll encounter across your game. And for creatures on the Volkihar side, for now that's going to cover the new vampire variants you'll have the chance of facing across the DLC. But there's still a few more specific Volkihar additions before moving on to both sides of the main quest. Now, the next two mods are specifically designed to expand upon the unique weaponry available through the Volkihar questline. And it starts with an item which in the base DLC is kind of cast to the side as soon as you acquire it, and that's none other than the Bloodstained Chalice. Staff of Bloodstained Chalice grants the player the ability to acquire an artifact located in a master-locked chest on the Castle Volkihar balcony. Upon casting, you will shoot a projectile of concentrated blood magic, which on impact will form a bloodletter shade, which will immediately shed off its flesh, causing an explosion. Each shade you summon will be frenzied and attack anyone and anything in sight, including you. The mod is designed to offer a powerful but balanced mechanic so that the wielder of chaos cannot abuse its power without great consequences. And in my opinion grants a very interesting and engaging use of the Bloodstained Chalice after acquiring it in the Volkihar quest. Next, similarly to the last, we have a mod which creates a more unique weapon out of an already existing item in the DLC, but in this instance, it's Harkans Sword. This mod replaces and reimagines Harkon's blood matron into a jagged gothic blade, more fitting to the Mace of Molag Bal thanks to its spiked adornments and harrowing design, and also grants it a chance to apply a bunch of new effects that make it truly stand out from before. Now, similarly to the overhaul we applied for Fort Dawnguard, we have Volkihar Castle rebuilt, a mod which has been around for a long time but still stands to be pretty much the only full overhaul of Castle Volkihar to date. What this mod does is, after completing either the Dawnguard or Volkihar side of the questline, you're able to restore the ruined wings of the castle to their former glory by mining away at small rubble piles throughout the rooms. You're able to restore pretty much the entirety of the area from the Volkihar courtyard all the way up to Valerica's study, even restoring the rubble doorway that lay at the other side of the balcony, which gives a more useful purpose to the balcony rather than it just serving as a fast travel point. One of the things I especially like about this mod is that you can restore the broken tower at the foot of the island, manning it with either vampire or Dawnguard soldiers depending on the outcome of the questline, and the same pretty much goes for the rest of the rooms inside. If you sided with the vampires, then you will restore the castle to its former gothic glory. However, if you finish the questline on the side of Isran, you can transform the castle into a new Dawnguard outpost on the opposite side of Skyrim. And just a final note, the North Tower, which can be accessed through the courtyard, can now be renovated into a home for the player. This mod is a great addition to the Volkihar questline in particular, but now it's time to move on to the overhauls that encompasses both sides of the DLC, and that starts with an area which is definitely in need of some improvements. The first mod we're using is 4K Soul Cairn, which visually just gives new textures and assets used within the realm a new fresh coat, and paired with high poly soul husks, a mod which refines the alien-like plant found around the plane, we have a good visual base to start working with. But now we want some substance, and that's where Mihail's soul trees come into play, grotesque, whispering flesh effigies that are unable to move or cry for help, condemned to serve as soul essence for enchantments for all eternity. But the main source of the content here comes in the form of creatures. First is bat-winged demons, blind, bone spear-wielding Daedra, slender-winged creatures that infest some pivotal areas across the game and act as guardians to Valerica's prison. Next is the Mourning Souls, spirits whose psyches have fallen into the void of sadness and despair, becoming the lost personifications of desolation tied to their ideal masters. Then we have Foglings, pesky and sly creatures of the night that appear across the entire game world, yet find a specific home nestled within the Soul Cairn. Storm Golems are the elitist among the Storm Atronachs. They are incredibly rare and powerful and pose a deadly foe if encountered within the foggy abyss. Finally, we have Gravelords, insanely powerful beings connected to Sithis and the Void, surrounded by their dread armies of Greatlord servants. Each one of these creatures aims to bring more challenge and variety to the Soul Cairn, but most importantly of all of them is the mod named Grim, which completely overhauls the Reaper boss fight into an epic battle with an elaborate mini-quest, taking you to a pocket realm of the Soul Cairn in order to complete the fight. Inside, you'll find a mysterious new realm filled with uniquely designed areas, and some interesting new enemies to fight, and in doing so, also supplies you with some pretty unique items to obtain as a result. It's a fun and challenging experience that you can actually do multiple times with varying stages of the boss fight, and really gives the Soul Cairn some agency to stick around in, because out of the two new areas introduced in the DLC, both lack some level of purpose to stick around past the main quest objectives. And that leads us on to the other new world space added within Dawnguard, and that's none other than the Forgotten Vale. Now, the Forgotten Vale for me has always been one of those areas that I just can't wait to get to during the Dawnguard quest, but much like the Soul Cairn, it's very much a one and done kind of area. So I wanted to give the Vale some reasons to both want to go back there and stick around for a bit longer than just reaching the inner sanctum to obtain Auriel's bow. So although there are very little mods that actually are available for the Forgotten Vale, we're going to start by giving it a fresh coat and then look at some new content. Forgotten Vale HD and Forgotten Vale Ice are both mods which together help to give the surrounding area a new fresh paint, by retexturing both the Snow Elf Ruins tileset and the new ice assets with fresh 4K textures. Both of these help to magnify the beauty of one of the most stunning areas in the game, but we can also apply the same treatment to some of the items. First, we have Iconic's remastered Paragon Gems, which combined with the patch for particle lights for E and B, provide a high definition and high standout ability redesign for the 5 Paragons found across the DLC. Next is the HD retextures for both Auriel's shield and bow, both bringing some more crisp and next gen upgrades to Auriel's arsenal. And on top of that, we can also throw on Auriel's Bow of Light to further enhance upon the fabled artifact with glowing insignias detailing the limb and string. And overall, these set up a good visual base for a few new additions to the land, which starts off with a quite unique creature mod. Snow Whales is an incredibly ambient mod by Mihail, which introduces giant mythical whales swimming in various magical locations around Skyrim, one of those being the Forgotten Vale, and really injects a breath of legend to the world space lost to time. And finally, to give some agency to stick around or even call the Vale your home, we have the Varkel Castle mod, which introduces an ancient castle that has long lost its previous owner, and it's up to you to defeat the evil spirit that lurks there and reclaim it as your very own player home. Next, it's time to quickly cover some mods that impact the way you experience the main story of the DLC, no matter which side you choose to take. And it starts with a visual replacer for all the unique NPCs. Pandorables NPCs is a mod which overhauls the looks of 27 of Dawnguard's characters on both sides of the story, from offering Harkon himself a more noble and cunning look, to refining Isron and everybody in between. Pandorables NPCs even goes as far to change the looks of base game characters such as Sabil Stentor. It's really a must-have if you're looking to elevate this DLC in the next-gen fashion, and give more personality to each of the NPCs you encounter across the story. And speaking of the story, we're also using Dawnguard tweaks and enhancements, which adds a few changes on how you progress through the ranks of each faction and also increases the scale of some of the battles across the questline. Following on from that, we have the Dawnguard and Clan Volkihar epilogues mod, which grants the player the ability to obtain the opposing side's artifacts after completing the DLC. Then we have the Ancient Blood Magic mod, which introduces a new powerful boss which can be encountered in the Volkihar courtyard, and also equips the player with 2 new spells alongside it, allowing the player to both summon a stone gargoyle and leech the life force out of the surrounding area in a powerful offensive AoE attack. But there is still one last area of this DLC that we have left untouched up until now, and that's Serana. Now, Serana is quite frankly the heart of the Dawnguard expansion, so we're going to look at some mods that can customise and expand upon Skyrim's most beloved companion in a massive way, and because we're leaving no stones unturned, I'm about to show you every single one of the top Serana replacers for Skyrim. Starting off with one of the most popular mods, Seranaholic, which comes in 8 different distinct versions, each adorning their own imaginations of what Serana could look like. This is one of those mods that most people will recognise, but most probably just go for the most recent variation without taking a look back and seeing what other options are available. And as you can see, throughout each update, the Seranaholic mod does begin to get more refined and start to try new things each time, sometimes introducing blood red hair instead of the classic dark black adorned in vanilla. Seranaholic is one of those mods which is really just up to personal taste. Some of the variations suit a more mature and weathered Serana that seems a little more fitting to her voice and long life, while others take the younger approach for a more princess take. But if you truly wanted a more classic look, then some might remember mods like the original BVFE Fangs and Eyes mod, which is definitely a classic, or perhaps you're looking for something more recent, like the superb Serana Replacer, which is more of a mature look. And sticking to that path, we also have the Serana Renewal Replacer, which is probably the most mature look for Serana out of the lot. And from the same author as the Dawnguard NPC Replacer earlier, you can also use Pandorables Take. But many of these are more mature looks thus far, so I've added in some younger variations like the Sensuous Serana mod, or, one of the most popular as of this date, the Serana Reamagined mod. Maybe one of the most detailed and expressive thus far. And just in case you prefer the more anime look to your NPCs, I've also threw in RB's Replacer, which leads us on to some more thematic replacers, such as the refined Volkihars, more fitting to the vanilla theme, or the SR Serana Replace mod, which gives her more of a natural look compared to the rest. And finally we have LamaKreis' Maidens of Skyrim, a more elegant and put together look. And with your Serana face of choice, we're finally ready to move on to the biggest and final mod of this entire video.
Hey, so sorry we got off on the wrong note. I understand it must be hard to side with the very thing you were sworn to destroy. I also read stories. There was supposedly a vampire Nagavir which never fed in her entire life? Or whatever you call it. And that vampire supposedly sided with humans, fighting against her own kind. So, this must be Bleak Falls Barrow. It's well lit, but decrepit, dusty, and kind of like the castle, actually. What's that? A tablet? There seems to be some inscriptions on it, though. Even I can't make them out. Too ancient. Even for me. From what I've heard at least, the Dragonborn, or Dovahkiin, was a mortal blessed with the blood and soul of a dragon by Akatosh himself, the chief of the Divines. Legend says this Dragonborn may also have the ability to use the Thu'um. In any case, though, I think we should head back to the Jarl. It's been a long day. Phew. This really is a bit of a hike. Even as a vampire, I am getting kind of tired. We made it. Wow. What a trip. Ah, damn it. Come on. After everything we've been through, we just get this, a note, a piece of paper. They might be luring us into a trap for all we know. I've heard stories of people being abducted in inns. I'm just saying to keep your guard up. Find the horn as soon as we can and get out of there. If I know my Tamrielic history right, dragons used to roam the skies. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of them. And now that we know they're coming back, I don't think this is good news for just about anyone. Right now, I think Delphi might just be our best bet. The sooner we can get rid of the dragons, the better.
Do you have no better reason for acting than destiny? Are you nothing but a plaything of Des? Of fate? What is better? To be born good? Or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?
I don't even know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. I just saw you talk to a dragon. There may be evil here, and sometimes things may suck, but there is some good to strive and keep fighting for. You know?
Even to the dove who ride the currents of time, destiny is elusive. There are many hungers it is better to deny than to feed.
We need to trap a dragon in Dragon's Reach? This should damn better work.
Now it is up to you to decide what to do with your power. Will you be a hero whose name is remembered in song throughout the ages? Or will you merely fade from history, unremembered?
I don't think it exactly sits well with me for you to travel alone, on top of a dragon, only to arrive at another ancient burial mound by yourself. You could die. Just don't go. There has to be another way.
Sum Arc Mora, you will push the world harder than it pushes back.
Do you know how beautiful something can be when it's tended by a master for hundreds of years? My mother. Why would she do something like that? locking me up all of a sudden, forcing me to be part of a world I had no place in.
What you just saw there was only a small showcase of the enormous amount of content this mod offers to almost every aspect of your game. That was a showcase of some of the dialogue featured alongside the main vanilla story, and not even touching on the Mages College, Thieves Guild, Companions or Dark Brotherhood. And just goes to show you how big of a mod this project really is, reimagining the vanilla game's hands down best companion and allowing you to really immerse yourself in the world of Skyrim with Serana by your side. Serana Dialogue add-on is one of the biggest companion overhauls to date, and is constantly being updated and improved, to recently changing the way she's romanced to be more lore-friendly, or a massive Dawnguard update coming later this summer. Serana is constantly being updated and improved upon, and as the heart and soul of the Dawnguard DLC, she's integral in re-experiencing the expansion with new eyes, and from overhauling the Dawnguard, Volkihar, an entire path through Skyrim's first DLC, and then throwing this mod on top of all the other changes in this video, you finally got a brand new Dawnguard experience that will allow you to immerse yourself into the land and stories that Bethesda have told in a way that keeps you engaged even 10 years on. And that's going to do it for my biggest video to date. If you enjoyed, then I'd really appreciate if you subscribed, as we're on the verge of 50,000 subscribers, and once we get there, I'll be doing a Heavy Burns live Super Show stream, where we'll be doing the grand face reveal and some other special events, so make sure you subscribe and I'll give more details on that once we hit the milestone. But that's going to be all for this video. Shout out to Kruger on the Discord for winning our first screenshot competition. I'll be doing them monthly along with preset competitions to have your creations appear in videos, so head over there, links in the description. And I wanted to give a massive thanks to my patrons who helped me be able to do huge videos like these. I want to keep doing these large scale videos, so I'll be working on a video overhauling the Dragonborn DLC soon. And let me know what other ideas you want to see in the comments. And finally, once we surpass the 50k milestone, I'll start streaming regularly, so look forward to that. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.